I mean, I'm sure you've been approached about acquisition.
Sure. Yeah, I ain't heard nobody talking about no 10x multiples. You know what I'm saying? You gonna acquire, you gotta look at what the business we've been doing. You gotta give me a 10x multiple. And we're not talking that, what we talking about?
Obviously, crossovers like
the AI Jordan
moment. You gonna have that moment.
Live from the Trap House. TIP, first and foremost, thank you for having us. Appreciate it, brother.
Welcome to the Trap Music Museum. We appreciate y'all for coming, man.
Now, I gotta tell you, I've seen pictures, I've seen the video, but it's nothing like the in-person experience. This is actually a very, very impressive situation that you have here.
Man. Thank you. This is a product of a lot of hard work and teamwork, a lot of collaboration. A lot of artists came together, contributed their work, whether it's photography or visual art, and the support of the community of artists that are the biggest contributors to the genre of trap music. Yeah. You know, the trap music community has embraced this in such a way that we couldn't do anything but be thankful.
Well, where did the origin come from? Because I know at first it was to promote the Dime Trap album, but then it's turned into obviously a tourist attraction and something that we have to come see, especially in hip hop culture. How did it flip from that to what it is today?
Well, the origin was to celebrate the 15th anniversary of trap music, which is the origin of the genre trap music. And
by the way,
in case you didn't know,
at the time,
circa 2003.
Like at the time, you know what I'm saying, there was just a lot of back and forth and a lot of speculation circulating about who actually did what as it pertains to the genre. And so I felt it was a teachable moment. You know what I'm saying? Perfect time to learn and enlighten. So we're in a group meeting and just spitballing ideas of how to celebrate the 15th anniversary. And, you know, someone just said, let's do a museum. And of course, everybody's like, man, how we gonna do a museum? Come on, man, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, and simultaneously, I was acquiring commercial property in this area because it was also close to the Super Bowl. We knew the Super Bowl was coming. So we were just buying as much commercial property, as many commercial buildings, hoping that when the Super Bowl comes, you'll rent it out to ESPN or NFL Network or, you know, a big conglomerate and make most of your money back during that time. So that was my intention. So with those two things in mind, that's how the stars and the moon aligned. To as soon as it was suggested to do a museum, and immediately I challenged myself, like, how would that work? I also had buildings that I didn't have purposes for. So I come to this building, I'm walking around, I'm looking, like, I guess, you know what I'm saying? We did the work, you know, rolled up our sleeves, and we just began to write it down, flesh it out. Everybody began to just collaborate. And before you knew it, we were opening. Only with plans to stay open for a few months, just to celebrate the 15th anniversary. Never intended for it to be a continuous installation. But the line been wrapped around the corner every day ever since. Every day the doors open, the line around the corner. Rain, sleet, snow, don't matter. So I feel like now, if I closed it, they'll burn my building down.
Can't have that. Can't have that.
So this actually turned into a viable business. What is the plans going forward? I know you have the escape room.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Escape the Trap. Escape the Trap is a trap-themed escape room. Are you familiar with escape rooms?
Yeah,
I've heard of it, yeah. I've never been to one, but I know I've heard of it.
It's like a teamwork, camaraderie building.
You gotta try to get out.
Exhibit, yeah. Everybody gotta put their heads together, think of, you know, different answers to clues and riddles.
Oh, I have been to one before.
Yeah, the best thinkers the best collaborators are able to make it out within that period of time. But the scenario we created is, you know, as soon as you go in, there's a character that greets you, and then all of a sudden that character runs out and the door closes. So when the door closes, I come up on the screen and I say, hey, so, well, I don't want to ruin it for you.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it's an experience. I don't want to ruin it for you. We also have another Escape the Trap in Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
I found out that Nashville has more escape rooms than anywhere else in the world.
Yes, you knew that.
Yeah, so when you were looking for a place to venture out outside of Atlanta, were you looking for those type of analytics? Who would have the most, like what type of things are you looking at to say, all right, Nashville's the place?
I will be perfectly honest with you. I had absolutely nothing to do with the Nashville selection. My partner, Doug Peterson, and the team, they sought out Nashville. You know, they've been going back and forth up there. And you know, he's been telling me, you know, that it was prime for the escape room. And we did the escape room first just to see if it would, you know, if the success of the escape room would justify another trap music museum in that, you know, in that region.
Yeah, one of the things you said, and I don't want to gloss over it, we were buying up real estate, like buying up commercial real estate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not typical, that's not average. So
It should be.
It should be, but it's not, right? So who got you interested in real estate, or is that something that you, over time, said, you know what, this is where I need to invest my money? Was that something that you grew into?
Well, my uncle basically, he forced me into it, kind of. You know what I mean? When I got my first piece of money, he was just getting out of prison. And, you know, he asked me for 20 grand. And of course I gave it to him. And, you know, months later, I had blown the rest of the signing bonus that I had. And, you know, he rode me around and took me to a house I used to sell dope out of. But the house looked much different. It was rehabbed, renovated. A family was in it. I was like, damn, what, you know, that's dope. And he was like, that's what we did. That's what we did with the 20 grand you gave me. And he was like, you know, it was a little profit. And he was like, I can give you your money back, or we could do some more houses. So he kept rolling, and we ended up doing about 80 some houses before the market collapsed in 2008. So from 2000 to 2008, we did about 85.
Single family homes?
Yeah, well, some duplexes, triplexes, some quads. Yeah. But, you know, just quick flips though. You know what I mean? Quick flips. 100,000 here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like, compared to the stuff that we're doing now, much, you know what I'm saying, much smaller in scale, but much more profitable at the time.
Right.
You know. So that's how I got into real estate. But when the market crashed, I noticed that commercial real estate didn't dip. So I said, well, shit, I'm gonna go with commercial. I'm gonna do that. I just never liked to do things. Like, I love the product of the boring work. I love that it's consistent. Yeah. But I don't, you know, it doesn't feed my spirit the way bigger projects do.
Go bigger, go bigger.
You know what I'm saying?
Can't go home.
Fact.
Yeah.
So speaking about bigger projects, is it the Intrada West Side? Am I saying that correctly?
Intrada.
Intrada West Side. I believe a mixed-use development property. 9,000 square feet for.
I think it's more than that. I think we got like 75,000 square feet for commercial. If
75,000.
I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? I check the specs.
75,000 sounds a lot more.
You know what I'm saying?
Sounds more TI-ish.
I mean, I think, you know what I'm saying? There's also a community garden, a greenhouse.
Something for foster kids also.
A community center, okay. You know what I'm saying? For kids in the hood to have something to do, you know, I think mentorship and getting kids occupied, their minds occupied early is important, you know, and I think that's something that the hood been missing.
So that's, I believe, like a $37 million project?
Yeah.
And you're working with Bank of America amongst other people?
Amongst other people.
So
we got some private and public.
What's the deal with that?
What you mean?
Like with the project, like what's the details? Like what's the?
I mean, to be honest with you, bro, I was approached. The housing authority approached me while, again, I was acquiring a lot of commercial property. And I tell you one thing that kind of spearheaded this into existence is when Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms became the mayor, she invited myself, Killer Mike, to sit on the transition team as she transitioned into her tenure. And sitting on that board, it put me right next to other developers, legendary, historical developers, like Noel Khalil, God bless his soul, and you know, the CEO of Delta, you know what I'm saying? Like just, you know,
Big dogs.
I mean, monstrosities. And I learned that a huge initiative for the mayor was affordable housing. I also began to research that 90-some odd % of people who work in Atlanta can't afford to live in Atlanta. And the way that the real estate market was growing, it was gonna push all the natives or most of the natives out. And that, you know, gave me an interesting idea, you know, because I was gonna make it a club. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was gonna make it a club, event center, like a Dave and Buster's type, because that's also something that we need.
Yeah, that's true.
in
That's
that
true.
That's a good
community.
idea.
But learning the interests of the mayor's the interests and the initiatives of the mayor, and learning the best use of that particular lot of land, it lended itself to the idea of doing a larger, more useful, beneficial project. And that's how, you know, we began to speak with the housing authority. The Vincino group stepped in. But it has been a vision of ours. Like, we've been conceptualizing and curating it since, like 16, like 15, 2015.
Where's it gonna be?
It's on Bankhead.
Bankhead.
Yeah.
That's your old stomping ground.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's actually it used to be a Kmart and a grocery store. And it's the grocery store that my grandmama used to take me to when she went shopping. The Kmart that I used to buy my Nintendo cartridges and He-Man and bike parts out of.
He-Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was very important for me, for one, to purchase that piece of property because it was such an integral piece of my childhood. But to repurpose it for something that could be so useful to the community was also very important.
You know what's so crazy when you hear? I learned so much from rap music, and before I was we come to Atlanta all the time now. But before I came to Atlanta a lot, I learned about Atlanta from your music,
Yeah, your lyrics.
a lot of your music. So the first time I heard about Kurtwood, he was like from East Side niggas in Kurtwood and Little Vietnam.
Yeah.
So Little Vietnam, I'm thinking, all right, this is a very dangerous neighborhood.
Yeah.
We got an Airbnb in Kurtwood.
Well, see, wait a minute.
The new Kurt.
I'm speaking. There's a huge gap of time. You know what I mean? Little Vietnam was East Lake Meadows, man, and that was the most treacherous. East Lake Meadows and Techwood was the most treacherous projects in the city. Techwood actually was the very, very, very first project in America. This is where they actually seen if this shit could work in Techwood. But East Lake Meadows was one of the most treacherous places for anybody to be. You know what I mean? Even for policemen. Policemen wouldn't even go. But there was a golf course
Yeah,
saw that.
right by.
Yeah,
And it was just like, you know, I guess the rich people who wanted to go golfing said, hey man, y'all need to shut this shit down. Come on.
Not while I'm golfing.
But they also, at a point in time, benefited from the cheap crack they could buy, because some people would like to golf and smoke crack after or before. And, you know, that's probably not spoken about enough. But you know what I'm saying, the higher ups, they want to act like, you know, they don't want to be a part of the hood, but they reap the benefits when it's convenient.
participate in the
Yeah.
activities. Yeah.
So the neighborhood changed.
Neighborhood changed drastically.
Yeah.
It's flipped. I mean, you know, my lawyer bought a house in Kurtwood, and you know, he's a pretty frugal guy, very smart, brilliant man. But he bought a house in Kirkwood, I think maybe 10, 12 years ago, man, for far under $1 million, like a quarter. And it's probably worth a couple million now.
So when you were part of the transition team, because I'll give you credit, the first time I heard the word opportunity zone, I was watching you talk about it and learning about the BeltLine. Is that when you were introduced to the idea or what was happening? Or had you known prior, because you were in the game for a little bit?
In the idea of
something that we can invest in and as far as gentrification.
You talking about opportunity zones?
Opportunity zones, yeah.
Opportunity zones was actually Nipsey. Nipsey and
Dave Gross.
Dave Gross.
Shout out Dave
That's
Gross.
who,
That's
that's
our
who
guy.
helped me to opportunity zones. Nip came and asked me to come with him and Dave to go speak to Congress.
Charlemagne?
Yeah, Charlemagne too. Yep.
Oh, Nip was supposed to be there?
Yeah.
I remember it was you, Charlemagne, Dave Gross.
Right.
But I didn't know, obviously Nip had passed away, but originally Nip was planning on
Yes,
going?
that was Nip's trip. Nip and Dave, you know, it's kind of like, yo, let's get like-minded individuals. That whole concept, that whole idea came from Nip.
Wow.
So Nip came, I guess after him and Dave were doing their thing, they had their vision, their ideas, and their plan. So I think, you know, Nip came to me and was like, yo, we doing this, opportunity zones. It's an opportunity for us to, you know, spearhead some shit that a lot of our people, a lot of our peers will be able to benefit from. I want you to come with me to Washington, introduce you to my partner. He introduced me to Dave, and then tragically he passed. And Dave just reached out, was like, yo, you remember what Nip was talking about? I still want to do it. I want you to come. And so we did, you know, in his honor.
That's dope.
That's dope. I didn't know. I
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We had did an episode about it, and when I was doing the research,
Yeah.
I came to you. I'm like, oh, this is the first person I'm hearing talking about it. So that.
Nah, Nip put me on game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can't cap. Like, he actually, he made me do the research. You know what I mean?
And so that's when you got introduced to the BeltLine.
Well, no, the
developments?
BeltLine I actually knew about.
All right,
The
okay.
BeltLine and opportunity zones, those are two different things.
Right, okay.
The BeltLine is I think the BeltLine was introduced by Kasim Reed, if I'm not mistaken, when he was
Former mayor.
Yeah, when he was mayor. Kasim, you know, and one thing Kasim did was keep the money flowing in the city. I can't cap on that. I just can't, bro. He brought billions of dollars here, you know what I'm saying? From the Super Bowl, I believe he did the Super Bowl, All-Star Super Bowl, all kinds of conventions. The deal to build the Mercedes-Benz Dome, which, like, whether you recognize it or realize it or not, they spent $2 billion right up the street from a heroin trap. So that money had to spread out. You know what I'm saying? The reason that this building is so was so, you know, sought after, this is such prime real estate, and all the places around here is such prime real estate, it is an extension of the success and the funds that was ingested into the community by the Mercedes-Benz Dome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the BeltLine is just another one of those things that, okay, so I guess it's like a trail.
Like a bicycle trail?
Yeah, bicycle, walk path kind of thing. And anything that is connected to or close to that goes up in value exponentially.
I heard Lil Baby, he was on the Breakfast Club a while ago, and he was saying, like, he was talking about the BeltLine. He was like, areas in his
BeltLine right out here.
Okay.
It's right outside.
Yeah.
You can go, you know what I mean? I got, you know, a few properties.
So that's why you're buying that. So when you
I can't, but I was here before the BeltLine.
Okay.
But you was doing something.
I might have known that the BeltLine was coming.
Might have known.
You know what I'm saying? I might have known.
So that's
but-
when you're saying like I'm buying a commercial real estate, you're buying it along that line.
So you
Well, see, because the BeltLine is citywide. Like it's the BeltLine right here. We're on the west side. It's also a BeltLine in Kirkwood. It's also a BeltLine downtown by Krog Street, Edgewood, Auburn Avenue. You know what I mean? It's a BeltLine like just about damn near everywhere in the city. It's a BeltLine by Piedmont Park. Like it's BeltLines everywhere.
anywhere close to the BeltLine
Goes up.
prime real estate.
Yeah.
So you had a philosophy. You was buying houses on the corners of the streets. Talk about that.
I mean, I just like the houses on the corner because they're the most
Sought after.
Yeah. Those are the most prestigious houses on the block usually, the corner lots. And not just the houses, but the lots. The lot of land is usually the most attractive. So I just always wanted to buy a corner lot and then kind of spread out from there.
So you said you was buying real estate for a long time. Did you foresee Atlanta? Like Atlanta is probably the hottest real estate market in the country. Is selling for 120% over asking value. Like all the realtors that we saying, like people's coming with cash offers and getting denied because somebody's coming with a cash offer with more. So like, did you see that, or it was just good time and it was just?
What I saw was, I saw the culture becoming more and more relevant to the rest of the world, the culture of Atlanta. And that had a domino effect to tourism and people wanting to travel here and move here. Now, I didn't necessarily connect the dots of these people are going to buy all the houses. Can't say that I did. But I knew that when everybody came to Atlanta, they bringing their money with them. So I felt like everything is gonna sell. Houses, cars, you know what I mean? Everything. And I just knew that, you know, we got to find a way to get in the way.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been noticing recently, and it's interesting because 2000 to 2008, you said you bought 80 properties, and that's the height of your music career. As far as the King album, you got trap music obviously came out. I'm serious.
I didn't spend enough money back then.
This is what I'm like, wait,
You didn't spend enough money?
I did.
on real estate.
On real estate?
Investing.
I did.
Should have bought more.
I should have bought more.
Yeah.
I should have bought more. I had an opportunity, man. Kevin Lyles came to me and offered me an opportunity to invest in the Ritz-Carlton in Baltimore, or the Four Seasons in Baltimore. One of them, they were about to build it.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'm putting my money in, you know, you can put yours in with mine. And you know me, I'm like, we're gonna be watching it in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was just a lot more skeptical, a lot more cynical.
Yeah.
Which I still am, but that was a good one, and I should have listened. And then there was other buildings that my brother Doug and his wife Crystal. Crystal Peterson also manages my portfolio, and she's a big piece of how and why we are able to do so much. The Intrada deal, you know, is a big piece of how all of this came into fruition is Crystal. Yeah. But she came to me and took me to Edgewood and other places and showed me properties, and it just, I just passed, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And all of those buildings.
You passed because you didn't see it, the vision, or you just wasn't at that time, like, I'm not into it like that?
Man, I usually, when I buy a building, I want to be able to kind of see at that time. I wanted to be able to see what the building could be. And I believe one of the things was we were looking for a studio at the time. And this building was not the building for a studio. So I was so laser focused on purchasing a studio, I couldn't see all of the other many functions for the buildings that she was showing me. Another mistake.
Yeah, but you found the studio.
Yeah, I found the studio.
You found the building. So, I mean, again, when you said that you're buying up the commercial pieces, and I'm looking at it here, and again, more recently, I'm seeing the creative inside of you, right? Because obviously, as a musician, you're super creative. What I'm noticing now is that you're kind of into interior designing. So, like, right, is that something that? Because I mean, home renovation is something that you could do. Obviously, you have commercial real estate. Is that the next thing that you're gonna be looking at, creating a whole team of that?
I mean, yeah, I think that it's just a natural transition for me. I just enjoy being creative. I enjoy seeing things at the base level and building ideas through the roof. I like Legos too, like for the same reason. I like seeing this big bag of little bitty pieces turn into this piece of work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just from time, effort, and attention. That's just something I always thought was dope.
It's kind of like music, putting the track together.
A little bit, yeah.
And for the record, he might have the biggest bag in the world.
Huh?
I said he
Me?
might, for the record.
It's called California King.
No, it's called the God size bag.
No, it's definitely custom. Definitely custom. God size. God size.
I want to ask you one last thing about the real estate. So collaboration, I know you're real big on collaboration. One of your friends, Jeezy, says something in a versus battle that got a lot of attention. He said, I might not have a $5,000 outfit or whatever, but I own half of Atlanta's real estate. And that went viral.
Did he say that? Did he say that in a song?
That was on the verses.
Yeah, he said it on a verse. I think he said a verse.
Yeah, on verses.
But
But people laugh. Because they didn't understand it.
Well, they also Googled his name, but then they don't realize that you could put properties in a trust and
Exactly,
LLC. And
exactly.
So, it's a whole thing. Social media.
Education is important.
Education is important.
Education is key.
Education is
It's important.
That's a fact. So I say that to say, you guys partnered on some real estate projects?
Do I?
You and Jeezy?
Nah, not yet. Not yet. We haven't yet. The only person that I've been able, or that I've had the fortune of collaborating with on real estate is Killer Mike.
So let me ask you this about Killer Mike. That's our guy. So I know you have the Bankhead Seafood.
Right.
But you have real estate with him as well?
Yeah, we bought the building, Bankhead Seafood.
Okay. So that's the real estate play?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the thing is, I was shooting a video there. If you recall, it's a video I got called, is it Broadcast Live off of an EP I dropped called The Nick. Broadcast Live, me and DC Young Fly, we kind of play a Craig and Smokey kind of, he's the funny one, I'm the straight one, you know what I'm saying? And we walk into Bankhead Seafood, and while we filming that scene, the matriarch of that business, she founded it, she worked there, owned the property, and she a boss, you dig? She said to me, hey baby, why don't you just go on and buy this building for me so I can retire? And I say, well, okay. You mean no, she said buy this business from me so I can retire. And I say, you mean the building or the business?
Two different things.
And she said, well, both. I said, okay, let me think about that. So I sent Crystal to talk to her, and they came up with a number. She's a shrewd negotiator also. I'm talking about, sheesh. And once we agreed on the number, that day, evening, I happened to catch Killer Mike at Magic City. Just happened to.
Of all places.
Just happened to.
The community center.
And, you see what I'm saying? That's cheers. You know what I'm saying? So we was in there, and of course, we always just talk about collaborating. And at the time, we were saying, man, we really need to find something to do together to show the next generation that we not just asking them to work together, we leading by example, working together and doing things together that they can see us doing. And I said, you know what? Funny you should mention it. I'm about to buy Bankhead Seafood, and you can get in with me if you want to. And he was like, well, I was just about to buy the new Hellcat. But I guess this is more important, so sure.
Tough decision.
And so we put our bread together and we bought the building. And then we were blessed with the opportunity to sit on the transition team. And then we brought in Noel Khalil, who's no longer with us, but an incredible mentor, an incredible developer, an incredible human being. And we learned a lot from him. We learned a lot, and we were fortunate to be able to have spent the time around him intimately as we were able to in his last years of his life. And he became a partner. And then, we just began putting the pieces together. It's been a long road, long journey. We're about to break ground now very soon.
So you're renovating the property?
Yeah, we was gonna knock it down and just do a rebuild.
Yeah.
But I think, to not have to get it rezoned and all that stuff, we gotta keep some walls, I think 2 walls.
But people can still get food, right? It's actual
No,
food.
not at the building.
No, I'm saying it's a food truck.
We got a food truck.
It's a food
yeah,
truck.
Yeah.
So that's the first restaurant. Trap Music Cafe is that so?
Trap City.
Trap City. So I'm thinking to myself, right, because you're doing music, you're doing real estate, the restaurateur business is very difficult. Obviously, you have to build a strong team. What's that process like of you finding the right people to put in place so that you don't have to be hands-on all the time? Because you got a lot going on.
I think that's what leadership is about. Recognizing star qualities in other individuals and applying them to a goal a plan that you have, a strategy that, you know what I mean? I think that I'm surrounded by talent in this city. It's a gang of people who I know who have successful businesses, selling selling food at restaurants, selling alcohol, selling hookah, selling experience and experience. And that's what I think people miss out on. Like, of course you go to a restaurant for the food if you're hungry, but you go there for the experience, even if you're not.
Come back for the experience.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
So I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do, like align myself with people who will allow me to focus on the experience, so they, will have to focus more so on the business.
As you're talking, I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is so crazy because you've done this in music your whole career and now you're doing it on the business side, but most people don't know that.
Right.
Which makes it super interesting. You've broke a lot of artists, you've discovered a lot of artists,
Yeah.
and now you're discovering a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen and women and putting them in places. And so that's dope, because like this, what other platform could we do to highlight that?
Assets over liabilities.
Good call. you remember when D-Wade threw the alley?
Yeah.
That was me just now.
You know, it's so crazy. The first time I ever saw you was in your first restaurant.
Yeah,
You had
Scales.
Yeah, that was the first time. That was years ago. That was the first time.
That was
I
a beautiful place, man. It was a
a
beautiful
vibe.
place.
It was a vibe.
It was a incredible ambiance. Horrible, and I repeat, horrible partnership. Worst one I've ever had. But life teaches us lessons.
What's some of the lessons you learned from that?
Trust no nigga. You hear me? Trust no nigga. Especially fast-talking niggas who think they slick.
Very important.
Pardon my French.
Writing that in my
I can
notes.
tell you're still passionate about that one.
Yeah.
Fast-talking out-of-town niggas. Think they slick, you know what I'm saying? You'll never trust them.
Noted.
Motherfucker think he got all the sense. He up to something.
Yeah.
What collaboration, like working with Mike, you said working with talented people, how has that, really propelled you? Because there's only so many hours in a day. It's only so much that you can do. How has that really propelled you to be as successful as you are now?
Man, bro, I don't really know how to measure my success when you say as successful.
Well, I mean, I look at you like, all right, everybody knows musical legend, but you're one of the first people who really was a superstar entrepreneur. Like we see Ross, he's one of these superstar entrepreneurs
Right.
now. Even Soulja Boy,
Yeah.
one of these
Right.
superstar
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. But you've been on that wave. So you have the Trap Music Museum. You say you have 80 real estate properties. You're doing a $37 million real estate play with Bank of America and doing all this. You got the restaurants. That's what I mean as far as success, like success in the business world. Like Magic Johnson, like we know he's a Hall of Fame player, but what he's doing in the business world is kind of like even surpassing what he's doing. LeBron the same way, you know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely. Bruh, I think everything to me provides me with the fuel, the lessons, and the relationships to get to the next thing. And I've just been kind of doing one thing at a time, you know what I'm saying? Execute, succeed, repeat. You know what I mean? But I'm learning to move more on my vision. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning to move more on my instincts. I'm learning to kind of listen to my gut more. You know what I mean? Before I was doing things because people were telling me that it was a smart thing to do. You know what I mean? Like my uncle said, hey, he kind of pushed me into it. But now I think, have grown into a space that I could visualize the steps before I take them.
One of the things you were known for was the style. Definitely, coming from Atlanta, we looking at like, this guy dresses kind of like us in New York. we like to take credit for style.
Yeah, you take credit for a lot of things.
we do.
But most of it is actually justified.
Yeah.
Most, not all.
Thank you for saying that. So King of Oneself, I remember when this was coming out. I'm like, man, Tip got something here. What's the status of it now? What's the vision for the future?
Man, going on 14 years of business. incredible partnership, incredible supporters. Like, you know, we have people who live by a coup. Like they want to buy. They hit me like, hey man, why don't you drop another one of those? I mean, they really pull up on me.
Yeah.
Like Slick, this character here, his name is Slick, and you know he rivals the polo belt.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that. I was thinking Kanye with the polo sweater.
Yeah, he rivals the polo belt. And so we made these the first year, but we stopped.
Right.
And when I tell you, motherfucker was like, hey man, we need some more of these. My sweater, man, got lint balls on it. I need some more of them sweaters, man.
Time to re-up.
You know, and so, you know, we obliged, of course, and we've just been making adjustments, evolving with the style of the next generation as much as possible. What we want to do is we want to find a piece that you can wear any occasion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Whether you hanging out trapping, whether you going to school, whether you got a job interview, got to go see your probation officer, going on a date. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Want to make sure you have like something to wear for any occasion. And, you know, we want it to look upscale, but we still want to, you know, maintain the interest of the culture and the consumer. Our demographic is kind of flamboyant a little bit.
Yeah.
So we try and give them a lot of colors, a lot of logo shit, but still do it in a stylized way that doesn't compromise style.
Yeah, 14 years is nothing to be sneezed at.
I mean, ain't nothing around that was around when we first
Exactly, that's
came
what I'm
out.
thinking.
Ain't nothing around.
We interviewed Jason Jeter.
You might know.
Yeah, bro, we done sat at a table or two together.
He was saying that, you know, when you first was coming up with the idea, he was like, all right, you know, y'all was brainstorming. He was like, all right, you know, T.I., the ladies love T.I. We need to actually have something that we can promote when he's wearing clothes.
Right.
And Dane told us that also. Dane was like, you know, everything is a commercial. Like his movies, he's talking about his movies. Like I do movies, he's gonna wear his clothes. So that's like the same thing with us. Everything we do, we wear our own clothes. So talk about that as far as like you're always in the public.
Sure.
So now it's like a free opportunity to have a 60 minutes, 60 seconds, whatever, commercial to support your brand.
I mean, to be honest, that's phenomenal insight, by the way. The advice Dame told me when I asked him about, you know, how to get it, he say, start small. Get a t-shirt, a hat, that's it. Like, don't try to do a line and have a huge delivery. I didn't listen. You know what I'm saying? But it was great advice, though. It was great advice. I understand why now. I understand why, you know, given the risk that we took, but we made it. But I think we took a different approach, especially given the time period in which the clothing line dropped. It was like when I was going to prison. So I didn't want my prison sentence to kind of hinder the potential of the line. So I kind of separated myself a little bit because I wanted the brand, we made a conscious effort to let the brand exist and succeed on its own. You know what I mean? We didn't want, a lot of people don't even know that this is my brand. You know what I mean? You gotta really, really be in tune with, you know, the T.I. of it all to know. Like, and I liked it better that way. You know what I mean? Because you can get real talk and you can get real kind of authentic expressions from people when they don't know you're involved.
Yeah, especially if they feel like you're not hot anymore, then now your clothes aren't hot anymore.
Exactly.
And that becomes tricky. One of the things we saw, especially with, I guess, quote unquote, urban brands, Fat Farm, Rockaway, even Sean Jones to an extent.
Don't let Jim Jones say you say urban brands.
I said quote unquote. No, I said quote.
Nasty word.
I said quote unquote. That's what they label it.
Streetwear.
Streetwear.
Yeah, streetwear.
We've seen that they've been acquired or they've sold the actual company. Have you ever? I mean, I'm sure you've been approached about acquisition.
Sure.
Turned it down each time. What was that like?
Yeah, I ain't nobody talking about no 10x multiples. You You know what I'm saying? You gonna acquire, you gotta look at what the business we've been doing. You gotta give me a 10x multiple. If we're not talking that, what we talking about?
Off the rip.
I'm not finna go and let you try and give me the last 2-3 years worth of business, because I'm gonna do that anyway the next 2-3 years. You're just giving me money that's already coming. I'm not doing that. You know, but if someone came and, was talking sensibly, we would listen and consider.
They got the wrong valuation.
You know what I'm saying?
They got the wrong valuation.
I mean, really.
10x, please.
But I mean, even more so than the clothes, our operations, like you can't really top our operations. A lot of people, they got hot clothes and they got hot designs and whatnot, but they can't make their deliveries on time. And that's huge in this business. If you go and you get a motherfucker the right orders and they expecting that shit to hit, when on the date that it's supposed to get there. And if you don't do that, over time, people they just stop fucking with it. But we've been able to just execute efficiently in the areas of operation, and that's largely due to our partnership with RP55.
What's RP55? That's the manufacturer?
Yeah, well, it's our partner. It's manufacturing, distribution. You know what I'm saying?
Talk about your studio. So I know the studio was something that you...
Yeah, Super Sound.
Yeah. So what was the idea, vision for that, and what's the model behind that?
Institution of culture. You know what I mean? Wanted to buy a place. I wanted to own a studio that young creatives and legacy creatives could coexist and exchange ideas, exchange thoughts and strategies, and be comfortable, I think that, so it was a very prestigious studio called Silent Sound. Used to be owned by Darryl Simmons, you know what I'm saying, a lot of Babyface, LA and Babyface shit, a lot of Tony Braxton, a lot of, everybody that recorded there, Usher, The Dream, a lot of people. And when I first came home from prison and I was in the halfway house and I could only leave to go to work, that was the studio that I chose. I chose that studio because they had enough room on the other side where I could put me a little bedroom in there. So, you know what I'm saying, the things that you don't get to do in jail while I was at work, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? And
conjugal visits.
You dig what I'm saying? It's important.
It's vital. It's vital.
Yeah. Come on,
survival.
You get to losing the thought of who you are without that.
It helps your creativity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Studies have shown that.
Jogs the brain,
exactly.
if you will. You know what I'm saying? Jolts the system. But yeah, so I always had interest in purchasing it just because of that. And the owner, Mr. TK, he and I couldn't quite see eye to eye on a number, you know what I mean? Because at the time, studios were struggling. This was before streams were paying. So nobody really had budgets. Nobody really had no money to go and spend $250 an hour to record. Everybody was recording in their house. And so I could have got in at a much less number, but I wanted it even lower. I'll just tell you. So he offered it to me at 1.6. I wanted it at 1.4. This was in 2010. I wanted it at 1.4. We couldn't see eye to eye on the number. That $200,000 took us all the way to 2018.
Wow.
And I ended up paying 2.6. You see the kind of stupid shit I do?
Don't wait.
Trap house is jumping.
But
200 cost you enough.
Oh,
man. Yeah, end up that 200,000. I end up, paying an extra $1 million because I didn't want to pay the extra 200.
Damn.
But
everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens.
That's what
for
you gotta tell yourself.
Absolutely.
That's what you gotta tell
yourself.
yourself.
For a reason.
So,
I think these losses, though, it contributes to who I am as a businessman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you don't take no losses, you ain't really learned no lessons.
So let's talk about some of the losses, right? Because shows
how
obviously
many of 'em?
property title, assets over liabilities. We talked about real estate.
Right.
We talked about the clothing. All right. We talked about the music, the studio. Obviously, we know that. What are some of the mistakes, some of the losses that you've had that have been attributed over your career?
I mean, I think, well, we talked about one, Scales 925. That was a huge loss that taught me to choose my partners wisely. I've also dabbled in technology quite a bit. I've spent a lot of money to have made none. I've spent a lot of money on that.
Sometimes
to
it
have
takes
made none. Also, the film The Trap, you remember that? With me and Mike Epps. It was on Netflix.
I
Me,
did. I
Mike
saw it one
Epps.
night. I saw it one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, so, you know, conceptually, on paper, seems like a phenomenal idea, you know? Mike and I contributed our time and services in exchange for an equitable share in the IP, all right? We had a director. I don't want to add that. It just was a bad play. It just was a bad play. It didn't work. It didn't turn out the way me and Mike envisioned, the way we thought it should. It was a bad play for many reasons. It was just a lot of mud in the water. You know what I mean? A lot of mud in the water. It didn't materialize the way we hoped.
I mean, for every trap, you get the family hustle. And so,
Well,
right? So,
I mean,
for a generation, and this
Bingo.
is action, right? So,
right.
for our generation, we grew up watching the Cosby Show, right? And that was the family, black family. And for a certain generation, the family hustle became that program to
I think
see
it
a
was
black
the Cosby
family.
Show, then it was Will Smith.
Fresh Prince had
Fresh
that.
Prince,
That was like,
absolutely.
they kind of existed around the same time. And
And
then
then
we had
you had My Wife and Kids.
My Wife and Kids,
My Wife and
the
Kids.
Bernie Mac show.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was like reality TV, and it was like the Kardashians, but nah, that's cool. But here's Tip.
Yeah, it was a
Here's
very
family.
wholesome show.
Yeah.
And it was needed.
Yeah.
Because it was a time when there wasn't a lot of balance.
Yeah, and we got
That's
to
real.
and we got to see a black father with his family.
Right.
And we got to see them grow. You're a grandfather now. Like
I am.
This is like I'm watching from I'm serious to grandfather.
That's real.
Tip.
Grandfather too.
Grandfather too.
Papa Tip.
Granddaddy, I use like shit, man. Hell
Papa
no. But yeah, man, this is, you know, evolution is real, you know. I consider family hustle to be, you know, one of those losses. One of those losses that taught me a lesson. Taught me a lesson about ownership. Ownership within film and television. And the money will rock you to sleep. You dig? If you allow yourself to be rocked to sleep with fees rather than equity, you will be rocked to sleep. You dig? That's the only time in my life I've ever been in a situation or a position where somebody could tell me, we shutting you down. You know what I mean? Like in music, I've always kept myself empowered with the right to choose my own destiny. That's the only time, and that was very unfamiliar to me. It was a learning experience, to say the least.
So I know that there's some new TV that
Yeah.
you're working on. The Apartments.
Yeah, The Apartments, where we wrote, directed, produced, financed.
Self-funded.
Yeah, self-funded. I'm executive producing it with DC Young Fly. It stars a host of talent. You know what I mean? Some of the funniest motherfuckers you're gonna catch. And I think that from these first 2 episodes, we're looking to license the series. We don't want to sell it. You know what I mean? I want to maintain control over the IP and share it with the cast members.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I don't think people really understand the importance of licensing it, right? Because then it can exist on different platforms, correct?
Well, it depends now. Licensing means that you maintain the ownership of the IP and the brand, right?
Right.
The way Hollywood is set up, most of the time, when you see things on TV, someone had an idea, they walked it into a building, the people at the building liked the idea and gave them a bunch of money to sell that idea.
Okay.
And so whenever the people who wrote that check don't like this idea no more,
It's over.
it's over with. And the people who created it have nothing to say about it. Yeah. If you license it, however, they could have exclusive rights or non-exclusive rights. They could have domestic rights, or they could have worldwide. But after that period of time, which is called a reversion period, the rights come back to you, and you can start that process all over again.
Speaking about reversion period, when we spoke to JG, he said your first couple albums, you guys didn't own the masters.
Right.
But you put it in the contract that it could revert back to you, I think, after like 10 years.
Yeah.
And after that point in time, then you do have ownership, or at least like half ownership of the masters.
Right.
You talk about that, I'm sure there's a lot of artists that's listening. They always hear about musical masters and things of that nature. They might not have leverage to get their masters when they first start, but that doesn't mean you can never have it. So
Right.
can you talk about your thought
Well, the
process?
best time to get it, man, is if you have been successful and it's time for you to re-up on your deal, and the label you with wants you to re-up, tell them, give me my masters. Give me my masters, and I'm gonna go across the street. Cause they're gonna let me own my masters. So either give me my masters or let me go. You know what I mean? That's one way of doing it. You know, what we did was we had I think ours was performance based. Like once we hit, I think 1.5 million, when we sold 1.5, then, that's when we shared in ownership.
Shared in ownership.
We shared in ownership, 50%
Okay.
of our masters. And, later, we got a better deal. Everything after Atlantic, it's par for the course at this point. But if it wasn't for Jonathan Leonard, who's my attorney, Jason, and my vision, I probably wouldn't have enough money to buy none of this shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I couldn't afford to make the kinds of mistakes to learn the types of lessons that have allowed me to grow to the point that I am right now. You know what I mean? If me being here depended on me doing everything right and being perfect, I'm dead. I had to reserve, I had to have enough, how do you say, fuck you money, you know what I'm saying, to take the risk, go out on limbs, and be willing to fail, and sometimes fail. I had to have the ability to do that without starving myself and making myself desperate. So, as always, passive income from many different places. And that's why I never really worry about getting canceled, because you ain't gonna buy music, but that ain't all I'm selling. You know what I'm saying? You might not, okay, you don't want to listen to my music right now? Fine. Enjoy the museum. You don't want to go to the museum? Fine. Go purchase some cool.
Pay your rent.
You dig what I'm saying? Whatever,
Pay your rent.
Pay your rent.
It's just so much stuff. And that was a product of just, I just pulled from the pages of people like Jay, people like Puff, Russell Simmons, Jay Prince, Master P, Baby and Slim. You know what I mean? Like, all of these people taught me without actually teaching me, but they taught me, they led by example, they showed me, this is just the beginning, you know what I mean? This is just a stepping stone to get to the next level of what you have potential to achieve.
I like that you said that, this is beginning. It's very fitting because I'm Serious is the first album.
Right.
The next album potentially is the last album.
Kill the King, yeah, that's
Kill
it.
the King is the last album.
That's it.
So the end of a music career, but the start of Clifford Harris.
Who knows? Tip Harris. Cliff was my dad.
Tip Harris. Tip Harris, the businessman? Or
I mean, man,
You're already a businessman.
I mean, we know that, but that he's at the beginning of this career.
Entrepreneur, you know, multimedia mogul. I don't know. Call me what you want.
Let's put them all together.
Till, let me ask you this. We was just talking
What's up?
stocks. So, you know, we real big on stocks. We got a show called Market Mondays, huge stock show.
Right on.
I didn't know you was into stocks. You said you got Amazon at a pretty nice
I got
price.
Amazon at the 52-week low in 2018, Christmas Eve, and handed stocks out as Christmas presents.
To your kids?
It's kids, employees.
How'd they feel about that?
They loved it. You know what I mean?
Especially
when it went
now.
up.
They're loving it even more. That's the gift that keeps
Most
on
of the
giving.
kids sold theirs though. You know what I'm saying? You know when they hit like 2x,
Yeah.
they got out of there.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah,
What made you get into stocks?
money.
That's a good,
Smart guy.
that's a good enough reason. That's a good enough reason.
Yeah, money. It's kind of like gambling too. You know what I'm saying? Like picking a team. You know, I think that. Let me see. That's probably one of my best picks.
You said NVIDIA.
NVIDIA, yeah.
That's a
Got
good
an
one.
NVIDIA. That's actually. I also got in stocks when I was in prison. I used to paper trade in prison.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Some buddies of mine, one of which you might know. You know Sherman Williams. He used to play for the Cowboys.
He was locked up with you?
Yeah, we were locked up together. He
Okay.
was locked up for selling weed. Crazy as hell.
Selling weed to the
Crazy as hell.
Cowboys.
Nah, but I mean, you know, he was the man in the town. He wasn't from Dallas. He was, you know, I think from
Okay.
some part of Alabama. He was like, you know, doing their thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they banked them and we ended up.
Oh, I think I remember that. I think I do remember that.
Yeah.
It was like big. Like,
tons.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Tons.
I remember that.
Yeah, ton. But even still, so they doing it right now. Legitimately making millions.
Exactly.
Right in the head, you take a man off the streets for doing the same shit somebody who look different than him can do, and not have to see a day in jail. Shit don't make no sense. Free Rollo, by the way.
Free Rollo.
Very important.
Yeah.
So, you know, him, I got another partner named Ace that I was locked up with. And, you know, we used to paper trade and just kind of try to find trends in certain
That's it.
yeah,
got the fundamentals.
trends within the region, within the seasons.
God does everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I got out, I just said I put what I learned to work, and I started pushing. You know, I think Apple was probably the first stock I bought.
Good choice.
Yeah. And then let's see, so Apple, Amazon, Coinbase, Beyond Meat hurting me.
I'm up big on Coinbase right now.
Yeah.
Coinbase doing well.
Coinbase
doing well.
Nvidia, PayPal. So we basically just have a little circuit.
That's a nice portfolio right there.
We have a little circuit, man. We'll just call and, you know, hey, man, I heard this. Hey, man, you know, with this whole metaverse thing, I heard about this. It's this new company that's supposed to be, you know, within the metaverse doing something within that. So I'm looking at this. I'll probably go grab some of that.
Nah,
Yeah, I mean-
NVIDIA is a good choice because we talk about the computer chip semiconductors, and if anybody knows, there's a shortage.
Oh,
of
Tesla.
Tesla,
Yeah.
good choice.
Another great
There's
one.
a shortage of computer chips in the world. So like when you have like AMD, NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductor, SMH, all of these stocks have been on fire
Right.
for the last couple of years because everything that we have is used by computer chips, being that there's a shortage. And it says 2026, the shortage is going to last?
2025 maybe.
2025. So if anybody's out there, that's a tip from T.I.
Yeah,
That's a
man.
real tip.
Real tip.
Another thing that we got in was like trying to catch, you know, startups before they hit their IPO. You know what I'm saying? Like Lyft.
You know
Oh, you got in on Lyft?
Yeah.
Before the IPO?
Yeah. Me, Jason, a few of us.
How'd you get that? Just inside relationship?
Yeah, I don't know if he want his name mentioned, you know what I'm saying? But definitely. Let's say someone that I met through Jason. You know what I'm saying? It's a relationship that Jason had cultivated and presented it. We collaborated and got us like a little, I guess they call it a syndicate.
we know what things.
So we got into that. What else did we do? Oh, we also acquired All Def Digital.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
talking
spoke
the
about
all
that.
death syndrome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
spoke
was-
about that on his
All
episode.
death.
yeah.
That's you know that's been it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, he's super heavy on that right now.
I'm enjoying that.
You said that you gave out Amazon stock to kids and the family, but you giving back to your community for much longer than that. So I want to talk about philanthropy and what has sparked you to give back at the rate that you're doing it, and the reasons that you're doing it.
Man, to be honest with you, bro, I just try to treat people how I want to be treated. That's it. You know what I mean? So everything I do revolves around that. You know what I mean? When I was in the hood, it wasn't no rappers coming back. There wasn't nobody speaking in my school. I think Bill Cosby, Muhammad Ali, which are they're great people to speak at the school. I got kicked out, I believe. I got kicked out the assembly when Bill Cosby was speaking. You know what I'm saying? I was saying something stupid. They put me at, you know. But there was not no Tupacs. It wasn't no, you know what I mean? Like LL Cool J. You know, it wasn't nobody that was like, that looked like us and that was kind of like closer to our
Age.
I mean, not even just age, our lifestyle. Yeah. You dig? And I wanted to be that. You know, when it's a kid that can't see outside of his environment, I want to be the hope that pulls up out of nowhere. You're like, shh, you from over here? You know what I mean? That's always what I wanted to be. Even before anybody who knew who I was, I had a little money. And we used to, on Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'll ride around, we'll get us a U-Haul and fill it up with food, and we'll just ride around places, pull it up, set up shop, pass it out. And that was 2001. You know what I mean? 2001, 2002, no organization.
Nino Brown style.
Pretty much. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real gorilla. Tossing turkey. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and bikes and toys on Christmas. It's kids, man, walk up to me today, said, hey, bro, I appreciate you. I'm like, all right, thank you. I'm thinking he's talking about music, like, man, you gave me my first bike. I ain't had no bike, I didn't even know how to ride a bike. You gave me my first bike. And, you know, that mean more than going platinum to me, you know. So it's the spirit of that. That's why, you know, I try to stay visible, for one, and active, you know, and giving back. You know, we have an event that we're doing, if I'm not mistaken, it's Saturday. Someday, anyway. So there's a program called the Next Level Boys Academy. And this program is like a diversion system, a diversion program that a judge, she, in lieu of, she'll give, if you catch a case, she'll give you your time, but assign you to this program. If you complete the program, they wipe the time. You know what I mean?
Like community service program type?
No, it's like I guess a mentorship program where they kind of teach you how to present yourself in interviews, teach you how to manage your emotions, mostly anger, you know what I mean? Teach you how to open bank accounts, fill out applications, tie ties, you know what I mean? Like all that, you know, and it's a program that I support. And the graduating class of this season, we're taking on a shopping spree. So that's gonna be like, you know, that's my congratulations to them. Take them and, you know, run a bag up at a partnered specialty store. I don't know if it's the same one as last year, so I'm not gonna say a name. But like those types of things, it just, it speaks to who I am. You know what I mean? And those are things that I would love to continue to do. That's why, you know, Harris Community Works is so important. Yeah. So anyone who wants to contribute to Harris Community Works can contact Toyon. We are 501c3 certified, and you can write it off on your taxes.
Yes, very important. My last question for you, I see you got your family on your chain. Obviously, you're successful. You know, your kids are growing up different than how you grew up. How do you instill?
Everybody except King. King insists on growing up exactly how you know what I mean? Everybody except King seems to be growing up different than me. King, however.
What can you
He
do?
mine.
What can you do?
You said a child
Nah.
for every moment in your life, the historic moment.
It is.
How do you instill like the work ethic? Because you know it's always sometimes people feel like if people are privileged, they don't have the same work ethic, they don't have the same appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's true. You know what I mean? I think it's true. I think that now the question, how do I instill it? I mean, with scarcity. You know what I mean? Like, make sure that it's something that they want that they can't just get, even though I could just go get it for them if I want to. But nah, what you gonna do for it? I mean, what you willing to give up? What you willing to sacrifice? How much sleep you willing to lose? You know what I mean? And I think that, like right now, you know, King, actually, I'm talking shit about him, but he's on track to graduate early. Like, this the year he's supposed to graduate. He say he's gonna graduate in January rather than wait till May, because he gonna have all his credits. That's what he say. He's a
You
slick
graduating
one.
high school, right?
He's a slick one now.
No, college, right?
No,
Oh, high
no,
school?
no. King ain't going to college.
You graduated from high school already?
You get
Yeah,
to graduate from
about
high
to.
school early?
I mean, if you got all your credits.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can do it at 16.
Yeah.
I'm just
See,
thinking it's bugged out because I
with the
remember when he was born.
With the pandemic, you could get ahead.
Okay,
You know what I'm
okay,
saying? And plus, he kind of, you know, he finessing. You know what I'm saying? But he learning the lesson, doing his work. So, you know, I just revel in the fact that he's not as bad as me, because it's so much worse. All of my kids could be so much worse. You know, I just even think about if I was in the position that they were in, I would have been worse than them just because, you know. So I revel in the fact that they have my personality. Some of them have my personality traits, but they're putting a much more refined touch to it than I did at their age, you know.
Yeah.
They're learning sooner than I did how to posture themselves in certain situations. You know what I mean? And that's extremely important. And I'm proud of all of them.
Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Mine.
Thank you, my brother. It's dope to actually have this conversation because I feel like everybody always knows you from music and different things. They might just see stuff here and there, but to actually sit down and have an hour-long conversation about business is extremely important.
I appreciate
and
it.
can reach a lot of people, can motivate a lot of people. So thank you for taking the time, brother. I appreciate it.
Man, my pleasure. And I'm trying to think what other things that I know. What about art? You guys?
We definitely got to talk about art.
Yeah.
You invest in art?
Of course.
I mean,
This painting, this net painting right here.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know.
that's a dope painting.
Yeah.
But like as far, so we had, who did we speak to about art? We spoke to Swiss Beats'
Troy Carter.
Troy Carter.
Yeah,
Shout out to Troy
he a
Carter.
beast.
Troy Carter's a beast.
So he was,
Troy, yeah, they both a beast.
he was educating us a little bit about art. Who turned you on art, and like what's your philosophy in investing in art?
Who turned me on? Probably Swiss.
Swiss? Everybody. He
Probably
got everybody.
Swiss.
Swiss got everybody.
Probably Swiss, Jay, Leor.
Leor
Cohen.
Cohen?
I went to Leor's house and I saw this one piece that he has. Incredible piece. It's Captain America in thumbtacks.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Incredible piece. I don't know who did it. And I also saw Basquiat. And that's why I was like, what is this? Scribble? What's
he
this
had a
scribble scrabble?
Leor had a Basquiat?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he did. Yeah, if I ain't mistaken. I think he had a wall too, if I ain't mistaken.
Got everything.
Now, I just left somewhere in Miami. I won't mention nobody. I don't like to mention people's names.
Farah Basel?
Yeah. I was invited to a party where, you know, I was also commissioned to perform.
That's crazy.
And it happened to be at this gentleman's house, you know what I'm saying? And he invited me in his house, you know, that's where kind of like, you know, a lot of mingling and socializing were being done. My guy had a Picasso,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
true blue Picasso, and two Basquiats, two of them. I said then I gotta step my shit up. You know what I mean? But I think that art is incredibly important because it's an extension of culture. It speaks to the time period the same way music does, the same way movies do, the same way fashion does. It speaks to a time period, you know what I mean? It wakes something up in you, you know what I mean? Whether it's ideas, whether it's energy, whatever it is. So I think it's incredibly important to support artists and the arts because everybody ain't rapping. Everybody ain't got a jump shot. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have support for strengths that all of our children could use to make a way for themselves. And I feel like art is definitely one of them. The most expensive piece I got that Swiss actually urged me, you know, to go ahead and acquire one is Ratcliffe Bailey. Ratcliffe Bailey is a phenomenal black artist.
From Chicago?
Nah, I think Ratcliffe is from New York, if I ain't mistaken. But he lives here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And he got work in the airport. He got work, I think, in either Phillips or the Dome, one or the other. But just an incredible black artist. And that's my biggest piece.
How much you pay for that?
Man, six figure.
6 figures.
Yeah.
It's an asset.
It is.
Did it go up in value?
I ain't checked
You haven't
yet.
even checked it yet.
Yeah, I ain't checked yet.
So you intentionally,
Thomas Arvid is my second most expensive piece.
Are you intentionally supporting black artists? Is that what your intent is when you are buying art, or if it's just art I like?
I try to do that, but I just enjoy dope shit.
Gotcha.
Most of my art is definitely from black artists, but I'll buy from other ethnicities as well, as long as the shit dope.
Yeah.
As long as it speaks to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
BK is a white. He white. You know,
This
he's
is
a
fly.
white guy.
Oh, he's white?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
he's a
dope
white
though.
guy, but
That's
you
dope.
know, but you can still tell that he's of the culture. You can still tell that,
No, that's
you
super
know,
dope.
this came from us.
Yeah.
So like if we just,
Through him, but from us.
all right, we do stocks, we do real estate, but we're not in the art yet. But that's something I want to get into.
Okay.
What's some advice or what like, because how I look at artists is, this is dope, but then how like Troy Carter was telling us is like, it depends on if the artist is hot or not. It depends on if somebody's like stamping the artist in that moment. It's like their previous work that they have done.
How many pieces they've done?
It's like a whole process of actually examining the art more so than just, I like it, I don't like it.
It depends on that's incredibly useful insight. It sounds like short term though. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to see it go up exponentially in 1 year, then I think that is definitely the play. I mean, bruh, to be honest with you, I just instinctively buy art that moves me. I have not yet learned which artist is on the verge of going and which one. I'm not that sophisticated yet. Maybe I need to sit down with Troy. You know what I'm saying?
Try to catch him.
But, like for instance, Susai. If you're familiar with Susai?
I'm not, no.
Okay, Susai, she's just incredibly talented artist. I have so much of her work, and I've been buying her work for probably 6 years. She probably one of the first people first artists that I met and started purchasing art from the actual artist. Another person, D.L. Warfield. D.L. actually designed my first album cover. And
I'm
also
serious?
Also Outkast. He
one?
did all the
Gemini
Outkast.
and-
He did all the Outkast. He was in the
AT
face.
Aliens, the artwork for that.
Yeah, he did ATLs. He did all of the Outkast
Yeah.
album covers, most of them. And Goody Mob. You know what I'm saying? He was the vision kind of behind all of the artwork. He was head of the art department at LaFace. And now, you know what I'm saying, he's doing visual art. So let's see, him, and then there's a gentleman named Hobo Inc. And I bought some stuff at Basel. I don't know who these guys are. I just saw.
Well versed. This is not an amateur at art collecting. This is well versed. So do you where are you storing these? Do you have a gallery that
Actually
you're putting?
running out of wall space.
Okay.
In your house.
Wall space,
Okay,
yeah. I can't store it just in one house.
In multiple homes.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking, right? We have the Trap Music Museum. But what's stopping us from having the Tip Art Gallery?
nothing.
I mean, that could be the next thing, right? And now artists.
Yeah, just find a building and purpose the space for an art gallery.
I'm sure you got one,
I got one.
right?
On the other side of the yeah. I mean, I think, all of these things, man, it just, we just take the necessary steps and in due time, we'll get there. We'll get there. We just got to prioritize the visions accordingly. You know what I mean? Because there's other things, that we came up with last year that, are materializing this year. We just want to keep it in a fluid pace.
Well, word on the street is that we had the most lit activation at Art Basel. Shout out to our partners.
Okay.
At United Masters. So next year.
I didn't get an invite.
I'll tell you who I called after.
What?
And they told me you were a little bit busy.
For real?
But next year.
Next year.
It's quite the calamity that I was. You know what I mean? Nah, man, y'all doing y'all thing, bro. I mean, I enjoyed this conversation as well as the first one we had.
Yeah, the first one was a vibe too.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope.
It's dope for me because, like I said, Troy's a fan too, but I was like really a fan. Like I still am, but like we used to debate.
This is true.
We used to debate. I'm like, yo, my boy T.I. is the hottest rapper in the South. He's like Lil Wayne. And then he said Jeezy. And I was consistent with T.I.
No, I stopped. The King album, I said, nah, T.I.'s the hottest.
But you still was on Jeezy.
I stopped.
No disrespect to Jeezy.
Y'all been polying a long time, huh?
Oh yeah, a long time, like middle school.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. And then like I was like Wayne, and then
it gets
Tip
so
had
serious.
he went
Like
crazy.
I'd be like, we start playing music. Like go to the car and like it'd be like people outside.
So
like,
verses before the
yeah,
verses.
exactly. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
He played a Wayne verse. I played a T.I. verse. So
I think that's the verses that
Wayne.
Yeah, I think that's. But I don't think he'll do it.
I don't think he will either.
I don't think he'll do it.
This is
I
not-
probably wouldn't if I were him.
I just can't see him trying to enter. Like I don't know. Somebody have to be there pressing the music. He probably don't. You know what I mean? He just takes me to like creative. I gotta. All right, what song am I doing now?
One thing about bro, he in his own world. You know what I mean?
That's why.
And curating his own universe.
Curating.
So anytime he need to step outside of that, I think he try to stay away from that as much as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we can't do Wayne, I do like to see Ross. That's our guy too.
I fuck with Ross.
Ross,
I fuck with Ross.
lyrical giant.
I fuck with Ross. Ross fine. But the thing is, I'm wondering, right? So if you have a second run at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't play the first song.
Are you able to play the songs that
So
were played?
we asked
in the
him. He
first?
said he got a whole bag that he didn't play.
And he said he's saving it for somebody.
He said I'm prepared. He said I'm prepared to play a whole 20 songs that I didn't. Now that's gonna be
fire.
difficult, but
That's fire.
he does have some songs that he didn't. He
do.
didn't play BMF.
He hard.
Yeah.
Man, Ross one of the hardest. Ross one of the hardest down here and still going. You know what I mean? The longevity also speaks for itself.
That's a fact.
I think that's a formidable matchup.
Formidable. Oh, this guy's the dictionary. Walking dictionary. TIP, man. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
Every
man.
hood honcho.
Thoroughly enjoyed myself, man. Appreciate y'all. Hey, look,
appreciate it.
I'm gonna hit y'all by, stop to.
No, for sure. Let us know.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Just the growth is gonna be
Got you.
a lot more.